you from the comfort of my home. But I was, of course, watching the Champions League matches that were taking place between, a lot of good matches going on. Of course, my major focus was in PSG versus Juve because, of course, what a riveting game that turned out to be in the end. But, of course, if you look at the first half of what is known as match week one, so the groups from E to H have all played their respective first games, and my oh my, it has been a very very interesting start to the Champions League. We know for a fact that the Champions League. One of the beauty of it, of course, is that you will be seeing the best teams in Europe actually competing against one another. You can also see a few upsets, and that's exactly what we saw today. I'll be getting to the upsets part in just a bit, but first of all, let's focus on the match in which we said that would be one of the most interesting matches, and that was, of course, PSG versus Juventus. Now, PSG, of course, were the home team in this case, so many would argue that they would be one of the firm favorites, but not always how it works. However, in this case, that's exactly how it did work. PSG, thanks to a brace from Kylian Mbappe, registered their first win of the Champions League season, whereas, of course, it means that Juventus have opened their CL campaign with a loss. Now, credit to Juventus, they didn't actually play too badly in the second half. At times they did look like they would actually, could maybe nick a goal on the break, and that's exactly what they ended up doing. They did get one back from Weston McKennie, but in the end, they couldn't find that all-important second goal to maybe at least, ensure they get away from the Stade de France with a point. So that was one of the major issues there in that regard. They couldn't find that equalizing goal, and PSG, to their credit, did actually not only defend well, but more importantly, they also kind of went out in search of that second goal. They couldn't find it in the end, but that wasn't down to a lack of trying. They did actually, Mbappe was had a couple of good shots on target. Neymar had a good shot on target. Messi was pulling the strings from behind, so he didn't actually, end up getting close to getting a goal. But in that sense, I mean, well done to PSG. I mean, they look like a very good team. In fact, that second goal which they scored with the team movements, one-touch football, sumptuous football. It was absolutely amazing to watch. And I, for one, am picking PSG as one of the dark horses of the tournament. I know it might seem weird picking a club that's essentially state-run to be one of the dark horses, but such has been PSG's poor luck. And in the current manager that they actually have someone who's a bit of a taskmaster, someone who's good, very strong tactically, and might just have found the way to play all of these three rather expensive luxury forwards in a very good way. So whether or not that's is something that's actually true, or this is just another false dawn, is something we'll only know in time. But of course, the good start and beating Juventus again. Juventus are no mean easy team to just roll over. They aren't some average mid-table team in France. Juventus are one of the top clubs in Europe, even though their form has still been up and down in recent times, but still. They proved a big challenge, and in the end, PSG proved that they could withstand that challenge and overcome it as well. Now, obviously, as I was talking to you about the fact that there are a few upsets as well, biggest upset of the day definitely goes to Dinamo Zagreb. They managed to actually beat Chelsea 1-0 in a match that took place in Zagreb. Now, of course, a frustrating day if you're a Chelsea fan, if you were watching that match. The defense looked a little porous. Going forward, again, there seemed to be little to no rhythm, but that's been a bit of a theme in recent times, and it just seemed like it was an amalgamation of those themes. There was a lot of changes made as well, which probably affected the team. Again, no Thiago Silva in defense. Considering the fact that you had both Koulibaly and Fofana, both new signings, still kind of looking to get used to each other, always is going to be a bit of a problem defending going forward. Aubameyang made his debut for the club. Again, didn't look too bad, but of course he clearly looked like someone who's dealing with an injury, and someone who's still kind of getting used to or acclimatized to the club he was playing for. So not an ideal debut for him in that regard, and not the ideal start for Chelsea's Champions League campaign. You don't want to be losing 1-0 to Dinamo Zagreb, even if it's an away game. That's a game you'd think you could take all 3 points from. Unfortunately for Chelsea, they couldn't get even a single point, so they're starting that group on a back foot. The advantage, the good thing is, of course, that two of the other teams who you would think would be their competitors in, of course, making it out of that group. There was RB Salzburg, Red Bull Salzburg, and of course AC Milan, who are part of Chelsea's group. You thought that this would be one match that could also see or determine who would potentially be one of those who would assert their dominance in this particular group. However, what happened was that Milan and Salzburg ended up playing out a 1-1 draw. In fact, at one point it looks like Salzburg may have won it, but Milan managed to get away with a point. In that sense, good for them. least newsworthy matches in terms of the results, or least shocking in terms of the results, was Sevilla. Well, Man City just pumped 4 goals past them. Two of those came from Erling Haaland, one came from Phil Foden, and the last of them came from Ruben Diaz. Again, as I said, hardly a surprise given the fact that Man City have been in flying form. Sevilla have been in anything but flying form. In fact, they currently could very well be embroiled in a relegation battle in La Liga if their form doesn't improve anytime soon. The other least surprising result of the day was, of course, Real Madrid managing to start their campaign off with a win. Again, as I had said, Celtic are a decent team in Scotland, but the Scottish Premier League level isn't that high, and Real Madrid started favourites. That's exactly how it turned out to be. Vinicius Jr. opened the scoring for them. Luka Modric doubled their lead, and then the icing on the cake was from my boy Eden Hazard. Finally, nice to see him actually get his moment to shine in a Real Madrid shirt. Again, as someone who watched him for so many years at Chelsea, I really, really hope that this is the year that his, fortunes in Madrid kind of turn a bit of a corner. Whether or not that can happen, we'll see. For that to actually be the case, he'd have to remain injury-free for a while. Anyhow, let's quickly go over the other matches. Shakhtar Donetsk, by the way, as I said, it would be a wonderful story if we saw them actually get a win, and they absolutely thumped RB Leipzig. I mean, 4-1. 4-1 was an absolutely brilliant, win for Shakhtar there, because again, would have totally been expecting RB Leipzig to be favourites considering home team. They were in a decent run of form, but Shakhtar, to their credit, put up an amazing performance, and so in that sense, very, very happy for them. Again, as I mentioned, that in places like Donetsk or other places in Ukraine, you know for a fact that the war has actually impacted everyday life, and so because of that, the fact that these teams can even be playing football at this point is a massive, massive victory for them. But the fact that they can get a win like this against a pretty good German team, even better. Definitely, rooting for Shakhtar Donetsk to do well, and I'm very, very glad that happened. Now, speaking of other matches that happened, again, Dortmund beating FC Copenhagen 3-0 at home. Hardly a surprise in that regard. As I said, Dortmund would be starting this match favourites, and some of the expected suspects were the ones who scored. Again, Marco Reus opens scoring. Then you have Rafael Guerrero, who ended up doubling that lead just a few minutes later. Icing on the cake, you get a Jude Bellingham goal, and I, for one, am very excited to see how Bellingham, develops. Again, he's already such a good player. He's so young, and I think Dortmund have, managed an absolute coup when they managed to sign him ahead of Manchester United. They've developed him very well. He's certainly found new levels to his game. Now, I'd be very surprised if no club or no top club from Europe actually ends up snapping him up in the next summer transfer window. And of course, last but not least, in terms of results, and again, this one wasn't very surprising, Benfica started their campaign with a home win over Maccabi Haifa. Again, as I said, Maccabi Haifa, for them, this would have been a big game. Benfica, to be fair, have experience of playing in the knockout stages of the Champions League in recent times. So again, this was always going to be one of those matches where, Maccabi Haifa started underdogs, and that was exactly how it proved to be. Anyhow, that was the first round of matches. Tomorrow, there's going to be even more matches. Again, 8 more matches if we're being specific, and there's some good matches packed in there as well. There's Inter versus Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid versus Porto, Napoli versus Liverpool, Tottenham versus Marseille. So 4 really, really good matches. I'm expecting some good action tomorrow, and I hope you guys will join me. We'll be previewing it. We'll be doing some coverage through the day, of course. So I'll be there on live on Sports Today. Hope you guys can join me. For now, I'm taking your leave because it's past 2:30, and I really need some sleep. It's been a long day. You guys should get some sleep, but before you sleep, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, drop us a comment. Which matches are you looking forward to most tomorrow, and did your team win? Let me know. Let us know in the comments, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and tap the bell icon so you know when it is we're going live or uploading a new video for you guys. Don't also forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and last but not least, don't forget to download the SportsTak app for all the latest sports updates from the world of sport. Thank you all for joining me. As always, goodbye and good night.